All right, we are live. We got the rock star in the building. We're bringing the fire with our special guest, Dr. Adam Phyall, as the Director of Professional Learning and Leadership at All for Ed. Dr. Phyall is transforming how educators approach technology in classrooms nationwide. And he's earned so many accolades. I could be here like for 10 minutes just talking about all his accolades. But what makes Adam's work so particularly valuable right now is he's at the forefront of shaping how AI implementation in education across the U.S. should work so that we can have that equity that we're looking for in so many different areas. So get ready for 10 minutes that might just revolutionize your teaching approach. So let's let's welcome my boy, my friend, Dr. Adam to the stage. Are you feeling it?
Hey, I'm feeling it. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in and listening. I couldn't think of any other place in the world that I'd be right now except right here.
I love that. I love it. So we're gonna get right into it because we on a tight schedule over here.
Go.
All right. So the first question I want to ask you is, you observe a lot of classrooms, you work with tons of teachers. What do you think is one thing that is stifling curiosity in the classroom?
For me, the biggest thing that I see stifling creativity is the fear of failure. The fear to attempt and try. I think, and sometimes the way our structures are set up, it's to teach everyone to get the right answer. And we all know life is not about necessarily getting the right answer. It's a process. And so you get there by trying creative solutions. You can't find a cure for cancer trying to do the same things that we've already done. And you have to try something new and step outside the box. And that was one thing, take it how you will, that I got from the pandemic is we kind of got that free reign to fail, to try things, to be creative, because we had problems that we hadn't thought of. So we had to be creative with our solutions. So it was literally one of those situations where this was across the country. You had folks sitting around in virtual spaces or in rooms masked up or whatever. And it was the problem. And it was like, no solution is too crazy. How can we fix this? What can we do? How can we get devices to kids? How can we figure out how to test kids? How can we figure out how to do remote PE classes? What does that look like? So people were able to throw out all these ideas and be creative. And we saw how some of them were great. Some of them were horrible ideas. But it was the whole thing about just being creative. And even with the students, they had the flexibility to be more creative with the products that they were able to create, because you could not be over their shoulder and helping them out. So how can students show mastery? How can they show their skills? How can we be creative? So I think we kind of have to step back and take away this, I hate to say accountability lens, but we have this accountability that we feel as though we are going to be judged if we get an incorrect answer or if we're wrong. And as adults, when we feel that way, we push that onto our students, so it stifles their creativity as well.
So what I heard you say was we are afraid of failing. Yeah, but we keep failing because we failing the kids right now, though. I mean, when we look at national math and reading scores, are we not failing?
Oh, exactly. I mean, I saw this one school district. They were recently celebrating some success on their recent state assessment. They went from like 14% mastery to like 17% mastery. And it's like, yay. It's like, I get it. Celebrate small victories. I get it. But we're still talking about over 80% of your kids are not proficient in mathematics. And when you talk about a 3% gain, that's not where we need to be. And when I think about being creative and thinking outside the box, is also thinking about how these students can actually apply the math. How can they see math in their real life? Because honestly, I've never had to find a tangent and cotangent in my professional career. No one's ever asked me what's the circumference. But those skills are skills that can be applied in other areas. And so, with AI, I know we're going to talk about AI, but
let's go on over there, because now we're going to talk about how do we foster the curiosity? Because I think part of the failure with the not making mistakes is when we're curious, we make mistakes. We open up doors and we like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have opened that door, but maybe I learned something from opening that door, and it opened my mind to a whole new idea. So
because that's the thing. And I always tell people, when you're thinking about failure, you always remember your failure. If I'm going to somebody's house and I make a wrong turn, next time I go to their house, I'm going to remember, oh, It's not that way. It's this way. Because I'm always going to remember that mistake because I know I turned wrong and I went there and I know I shouldn't turn that way anymore. So I've learned from that. I will never make that mistake again. It's ingrained in my head because that was a mistake that I made. So we learn so much from that. And when you start talking about AI right now, and it's this is I sometimes I play the devil's advocate with some of this stuff.
Hey, do it. You got to be on both sides. You need
Yeah,
pros and cons everywhere
yeah.
you go.
I mean, because there's so it has so much potential, but then we also do need to have real conversations about the pitfalls. I don't want to be Pollyanna and be like, "Oh, it's going to save all this stuff and be amazing." But here's the thing, and here's the thing I love about students, and I always used to say this when I used to teach iPad classes to adults. I could take a room full of students and put a teacher to put a piece of technology in front of them, brand new technology, they've never seen it. They won't touch it. They will sit there and wait for the next step because they have this fear of breaking it or doing something they're not supposed to do. Try that with students and see what happened. You're gonna be like, oh, don't touch it. I mean, they don't have a fear, and that's the thing about it. The kids do. It's not that they get technology; they just don't have a fear of the technology. They haven't lived enough to know what the bad things that can happen, so they'll hop right into it and play around and do some stuff. We're the one who gives them the fear. That's like, oh, don't do that because you can do this, you can do that. Yes, we need to give them guardrails and safety.
Yeah.
But their minds are so creative already that they could ask things from AI that we don't even think to ask because they haven't been, their brain hasn't been molded into this, to be conformed into this box that we live in. So they're like, could it do this? Well, could I do this? How about making this? I don't know. Let's give it a try and see what happens.
Let's give one practical tip or strategy for a teacher that might be afraid of using AI in their classroom. What is one practical thing they could do to help kind of spark curiosity or help with the creativity of students in their class?
See, but here's the thing with that. This one, you have to ask the kids what they're interested in to have to spark their creativity because you have your interest. I have my interest. Your interest may not be my interest. I still like the stuff that I liked in the 80s at times. You know, I got some Transformers on my counter on my bookshelf behind me. You know, these are the toys I couldn't get back in the days when I didn't have no money, but I can buy one now. But before a kid is one understanding their interest because then they're more creative around that interest area. You can spark their creativity. I'll share a personal story. My middle child, she's hearing impaired, and she has these ideas about, Daddy, what could we do to fix hearing? How can we do some things to make it easier for everybody to hear, to make everybody understand? So her mind's already thinking about things that she could do. And I'm like, I don't know, let's use an AI assistant and see what things we could figure out. You know, what are things that are existing right now? And she's looking, she's like, oh, wow, I didn't know it could do that. And so but she's interested in that. And so she's thinking about science fair for next year. She's like, I want to do a science fair project about hearing. How do I do that, Dad?
And you're encouraging it, though. You're encouraging it by having a conversation. So I heard two things. The first thing is find out what they're interested in. But in order to find out what students are interested in, you have to ask them questions. You have to have conversations. You have to put different things in front of them because even some kids don't even know what they're interested in yet until they're exposed to it. So on that note, I wanted to just quickly post that, you know, we have the Spark Curiosity GPT coach now available in Chat GPT. You can just go type it at the top. And what it's designed to do is to help give teachers an idea. So say you see your kids are interested in Transformers and you're about to teach a lesson in English language arts on a topic. You could go there and say, I'm teaching 7th graders this particular standard, can create a lesson or create some type of task that will tie it to Transformers. And it's going to spit out a concept for you. It's going to give you 2 guiding questions so you can guide the discussion. And it's going to give you some standards, especially if you put the state you're in. And it's going to give you a prep talk. Like, hey, I know you're scared, but do this. And this is why you should do this. So I want to let you know that's out on the market. Go test that out. And, you know, we got a very short amount of time. I want to also let you know we got the Spark Curiosity Conference taking place June 19th and 20th. And again, the whole purpose of the Spark Curiosity Conference is to spark your imagination. Because what Adam just said is we need to start thinking about creativity. We need to see things in a different way. And we just haven't been pushed there. COVID pushed us there. but Trump is pushing us somewhere too. And as he pushes us places, it's, to me, I love it. I actually, I feel like I have more stimulation in my brain that I never had before, and it's in a positive sense because without a struggle, there can be no progress. So, Adam, any little last words you want to say on this topic? Because I know we sparked it. That's all we here to do, Adam. We're here to
Yes,
spark. We're
yes,
not here
yes,
to
yes.
saturate. We're here to spark.
Yeah, hey, my whole thing is make sure you have those conversations because with all the things that we do, the human element is the most important element that we need to focus on to spark curiosity with everybody. Make sure you know the person that you're having the conversation with, and you will be surprised what they can create.
Awesome. And we're going to end it with an original song that will again be unleashed at the Spark Curiosity Conference with the new book called Unleashing Curiosity. So this song is actually called Unleashing Curiosity. So give it a minute and let it roll out. We did our 10 minutes talking. The rest of you.
Yeah, let it marinate.
Yeah.
Fear, the fear of not knowing how to spark it, how to sustain it, how to teach curiosity. We've all felt it. That pressure to get it right, to stay in the lines, to keep control. But here's this last step.
There was a teacher named Miss Lane, 10 years in the game, knew the standards, knew the test, but still something felt off. Her students blank stares, compliant but disconnected, until one day she paused mid-lesson, put down the worksheet and asked a question instead. What would happen if math class wasn't about finding the answer but discovering the question? No one's asking it. It starts with one question, one task, one spark in a class that feels stuck, one chance to go beyond fear, to ignite the fire that was always here. Your students are hungry for more, so go and unleash their curiosity.
The students are hungry for
Miss
more.
Lane changed her approach next week in geometry. She handed students straws, tape, and a challenge. Design a structure that can stand 1 foot tall using only these. No formula, no steps, just trial, error, discovery. And something shifted. Voices rose, ideas bounce. Laughter, frustration, learning all collided. And then one student who never spoke said, I think triangles give it more strength. Boom, concept locked in. It wasn't perfect, there were messy. Dacity doesn't live in perfection, it lives in the risk. Her class didn't just learn geometry, they learned confidence, they learned to wonder, they learned to try. It starts with one question, one.
I know you liking that, right? You feeling that?
Feeling it,
Starts
feeling
with
it.
one question, you know,
Yeah.
one thing. And again, I'm just dropping little samples because I can't give it all to them. Can't give it all to them. But I want to thank you so much for taking time out your very director headed just to give us some simple gems. And again, the simple gems, talk to the kids. Let them make mistakes. Make mistakes. You can't try new things if you always do the same thing. So we'll see you next week, Wednesday, for the 10-minute live spark. Have a great, great evening.